few minutes ago, Lura and I were with the Secretary of Health here from Pennsylvania, and the legislators who were there said that the most powerful thing is a personal story. This may be hard to believe in 2026 when you watch the news, but politicians are human beings too. And they connect with you on a human level more than just on numbers and cents and policies. Whether it's a Democrat, Republican, Independent, or if there's any Whigs still involved, they are listening to you on a human level, and your stories are very impactful. So let me introduce you to some of our advocates who are going to tell you about how they have shown their power through advocacy and some tools and ideas for how you can be an advocate too and demystify some of those challenges, and maybe you'll want to be involved in this process as well. First, we have my friend Tara McKean. Tara spent years as a teacher in New Jersey and devoted 18 years as a special education advocate, working together with occupational, physical, and speech therapists to support every child. Inspired by caring for her late father, she authored Tom's Friends of ALS Bill of Rights in New Jersey, making sure that no family ever faces this disease alone, and we're working on getting that passed in New Jersey. Next, at the end, we have John Russo. John, according to this card, has been happily married to his wife, Loretta, for 43 years. He has lived a full and active life, and he was diagnosed with ALS in 2013, and he has since poured his heart into advocating for others, lifting up the ALS community with his warmth, wisdom, and unwavering support and good humor. Finally, we have my friend Laura Sawyer, MSW. She is founder of Let Hope Grow. Laura's passion and dedication are truly inspiring. She has built a community that provides hope, resources, and connection for patients and caregivers, making a tangible difference in the lives of people facing ALS every day. And she continues in the memory of our friend Peter, her husband, who meant so much to all of us who got to work with him. So please join me in giving a heartfelt welcome to our panel, Tara, John, and Laura. I don't have a lot of mics we're going to pass around. So I have questions already prepared, and we'll see if they have good answers or not. The first question is for all of you, so we'll pass it from one to the other, is how and why did you decide to become an advocate, and how easy was it to start? So we'll start with Tara, because she's closest.
Okay, thank you all for coming today, and I feel honored at this opportunity. How I became an advocate, I've been an advocate pretty much in the special ed capacity. And I fell into the role when I became a caregiver for my father. And I realized, just going to give you a story. So one of the stories is about 2 years ago, around this time, he was put into the hospital. And just starting to go into the hospital, I had to say, my father has ALS, and they wanted him to wear a mask. And I said, absolutely not, because he can't breathe. That's why we're here. He's not wearing a mask. So they said, okay, you're not going to go in the waiting room. We'll put you into the triage. So he went into the triage, and they just, helped my dad in. And I said, well, he needs help transferring. He has ALS. And the guy looked at me, and I said, he can't lift himself up in this bed. I need you to help me because I can't lift my father. So I had to continue to keep saying, my dad has ALS. My dad has ALS. So his complaint that night was that he couldn't breathe. So the emergency room doctor, we realized that they were not familiar with the ALS technology that we have, the non-invasive vent, the cough assist, that when we went to the clinic, March 28th, we were supposed to get that script. Well, because of prior authorization, we hadn't had it yet. So now we had an emergency room crisis because my dad did not have the necessary technology that he needed. So we're in the hospital. The emergency room doctor didn't know what this technology was. So I had to, again, advocate, because I was a special ed teacher, thank God. He was preparing me, which I didn't realize at the time. I said, I need to speak to a respiratory therapist. So I got the respiratory therapist. And I said, he needs a nebulizer treatment. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a daughter who loves my dad, and I don't want him to be in distress with not being able to breathe. So it went on. I had to basically, while we were there, they couldn't discharge him because, they couldn't let him go because that would be negligible in the hospitals when he would be readmitted. So I had to call the emergency room, or the insurance company, to advocate, to say, hey, if you want to discharge my dad, because at this point they had already kept him overnight. And I said, we're going to need the durable medical equipment at the house for the hospital to discharge him. So you can keep him at the hospital, but he doesn't want to stay here. I don't want him to stay here. We need the durable medical equipment. While he was in the hospital, I had asked for a video swallow test. They had to do the bedside swallow, which I could have already told him that he's going to fail because I had been feeding him for the past couple months. But they did both. And then I had to ask for the social worker to say, hey, can he have a hospice eval? So I found myself advocating on multiple fronts. So that's how I kind of fell into that role. What was it? How easy was it? It just came natural to me. So thank you.
Hi. This all started for us back in 2015, and at first I didn't feel like I needed to do a whole lot of anything. I was guided very well. Then we started at Johns Hopkins, we ended up in Hershey, continued being guided well, and then he went into the hospital. That was after my first round of advocating in DC that Steve got me involved with, and very grateful that he did. I learned a lot, and I have figured out how to fight for whatever he needed, and I needed that bit when he went into the hospital because they don't understand anything. Oh, and I'm stupid. I'm very stupid because how can you know anything? You are never been to medical school. You don't do this. I say I do this every day, so I don't want to hear it. Go to a hotel. I asked, do you have platform beds? Oh, no, they're up on a frame. You're good. And this is in the handicap room. You get there, you can't get him into the bed because you can't get the thing under the bed. And so I go downstairs. They said, we'll get you a bed frame. Then the manager comes back and says, no bed frame. We do the minimum we have to do. That's all. That's all we do for handicap. Well, that's wrong. So I went to Big Lots and bought a frame and set it on the counter and said, put it under the bed now. You told me you had one. They did do it. When I left, they said, take that bed frame with you. I said, no, you need it more than I do at this point. So advocating came natural as you go through this further and further and further. And the ease of getting into it was having a conversation with Steve. And then I went home and I got online and I looked and I signed up for advocating right then. And I've been doing it, I don't guess, every year since about 2016, 2017. And I'm grateful that I do, and I will continue, and especially in accessibility and disability and doctors learning a little bit about ALS.
What do you expect me to do?
Come on, John.
She said you didn't need her.
I'm not an avatar.
I figured everybody could still cross their legs that well. Could hold
Nice
it.
job.
Hold it in your legs.
So, advocacy for me really stemmed from feeling as though I was losing myself and my abilities. And thanks to Tony, I've been working at advocacy for 12 years now. And I've never gotten a paycheck. I'm waiting for the first one. But at the time, it was a state advocacy event. Troy Singleton, if you remember, and in New Jersey. And there was a patient by the name of Milt Sierra. He was a little guy, a truck driver, who told me I had to do the advocacy. So Milt and Tony got me into it. And on that first day, I met a woman with her 9-year-old daughter, her 7-year-old daughter, and her 3-year-old son. And her husband was really in the latest stage of ALS. He was 47 years old. And that's really what got me hooked on advocacy, because I already knew anything I did wasn't really going to help me. But I felt a sense of the need.
Paying it forward.
Now my wife is going to talk for me.
He's my puppet avatar.
46 years with the same woman. I deserve a medal. Well, anyway, that really got me hooked because I felt with young people getting this disease, it was unbearably unfair. And so I decided to do what I could. And we've been advocating ever since.
I'm gonna make it easier and stand close to you for the next part. So, the person he mentioned, Milt Sierra, who passed away, I believe, in 2014 or 15, 2015, because he was involved with the Ice Bucket Challenge. Troy Singleton, the state senator, he still has Milt's picture on his desk in his office, and your stories make a huge impact, and he always remembers him when he supports funding. So my next question, I'll ask for John and then Laura, because you've both been at federal and state advocacy, and sometimes people don't realize there's a difference. So what can you say about the difference in terms of advocating for your state government, where the people are kind of neighbors, they're people that are close, and going to Washington, D.C., and some of those challenges or the differences there?
Well, DC is a much bigger place, right? And as I've always said, we're a tough group to say no to. But I find time and time again there's inaction on the part of federal government in this case. The state of New Jersey, between Troy Singleton and another gentleman, Dan Benson, once we created a relationship with them, they really helped drive action on the part of the state to really try to help the patients living in New Jersey. On the federal side, I think, again, you get people that you develop a relationship with, and it's face-to-face in person. If you can tell your story, if the person you're speaking with has any familiarity with the disease, they're won over, I think, never easily, but they're more sentimental towards our cause or more receptive to it. Other than that, people are people, and the differences aren't that great for me once you get in front of them.
Thank you, John. There's no right answer. Laura?
I'm pretty much in the same area as he was. The state, I feel that we build a different kind of relationship with the legislators and the representatives that you meet there, because you can run into them while you're here. You can go be downtown and run into them. They know you, and they're here to help more with the local in-state kind of things that are happening. And it's a big, huge help. And it's fun to go and talk to them. And they have their stories. There's some that we had stories with their families that passed away from ALS and stuff. Federal, on the other hand, is a larger group. You know that because we usually go see people that are involved with our state, unfortunately or fortunately, and you're not quite as close to them, but they're on a higher level where they're trying to pass bigger bills, and like the Act for ALS or funding for NIH and DOD. So that's the differences that I see between the two. I like doing both, but I really like state because I know those people a little bit more.
Thank you, Laura. Now, all of you, none of you were experts in advocacy or public policy before ALS. None of you had gone to school for that, and I hadn't done it until you do it. You don't do it until you do it, right? So do you have to be a policy expert, or how do you become an expert in anything that you care about? And Tara, do you want to start, since you have kind of created your own policy agenda?
Okay, sure. So, no, you don't have to be a policy expert. I think when you are either a person living with ALS or you're a caregiver, you become the subject matter expert in a way, because you're living the experience day by day and you're doing the observational data. The clinic, while they're really awesome with the medical side, they don't see you except every 3 months, but you live with them day to day. So do you have to be a policy expert? No. I ended up, do you want me to talk about that? I ended up creating, from what I had seen from my father, was a Tom's Friends of ALS Bill of Rights. So I had noticed the challenges that we had. I looked at it from a perspective of, okay, what do I not want other people to go through? So one of the things that we could do as the ALS Association, which would be to eliminate the prior authorization or the step therapy, or have continuity of care. When my father had gone from palliative care to hospice care, I wanted him to continue with a non-invasive vent. So no, you don't have to be a policy expert.
Do you want to add something, Laura?
No.
Oh, you had your hand up. So. Yeah, you don't need to be in all the legislation that you're proposing. It may help people with ALS, but it might help more. Just like we're talking about the research funding, we talked about ALS first, and then it starts adding to other brain diseases. And if you can help with accessibility, that helps anyone that needs accessibility. Now, one thing, Tara, that you did is you helped track legislation in New Jersey. And John, I don't know if you want to say anything first, because there was a bill we just passed in New Jersey to make ALS a reportable disease. And then Tara was helping to track the success of that. Do you want to say anything about that legislation?
Sure. So ALS was not a reportable disease in the state of New Jersey. And actually, it was only reportable by law in about 4 or 5 states, mostly up in New England. And the reason to have ALS become a reportable disease is so that they can better track the patient numbers, and also if there are pockets of ALS incidents that are higher than the national average, it may lead to some discovery about environmental factors that lead to a person getting ALS. So I had talked to a few other patients around the country, suggested this to Tony, and of course he got on it right away. And it took probably, 2 years?
Something like that, 2 years. But Tara, you were helping to track how it was going, because you want to give any perspective, because people don't know what it means to track legislation.
So when we had the bill, I believe it was Senate Bill 4030, and so you can go, we're in New Jersey, so PA might be a little different. You can go on New Jersey legislative calendar, and you can look actively, or you could be more passively, and you can subscribe to a bill. So I could subscribe to Senate Bill 4030 and find out on what day, what time, and where the committee would be discussing the bill. But on the particular day that I was tracking it, it was, I guess, on the floor where it was being voted on. So you can see it in live time. So.
Thank you very much. And it was signed by the governor the day he was leaving office. So they made changes at the last minute, and you were paying it. And it was technical changes that we still don't understand, but it still passed. But speaking of technical issues, you, John, have been involved with the congressionally directed medical research program. and this is important research from the federal government. That's why it's congressionally directed. So you have been a research ambassador. Tell us a little bit about what it's been like being part of that program, because it goes beyond just advocating.
Oh, sure. So my role was as a consumer reviewer of research grant applications. Anyone could do this. I'm not a doctor. I barely made it out of college, but I had a desire to learn more about the science behind ALS research. So you basically get to go to DC and sit with a panel of really, really smart people, neuroscientists, who generally pick apart these applications for research money. And at the end of the day, recommendations are made to the Department of Defense, who funds this research for ALS to the tune of about $40 million a year. So that's a great program to be involved with, because you learn a lot, and again, you're paying it forward for future patients and families, because the drugs won't become available for many years after we do this program. I did that for like 6 years, and then I got COVID, so I missed the last one.
Well, it continues to go on, and they're still taking applications right now to be a consumer reviewer. You have to be a person with ALS to be a consumer reviewer, right?
I think you could be a caregiver, but they prefer patients.
And even though it's Department of Defense money, it does not mean you have to be a veteran or be in service. It's someone living with ALS. So if you are a consumer, if you are living with ALS and would like to participate in that program, you can reach out to me, or Steve's here, and he'll pass that along, and we'll help to push that application forward, because you can be a part of ALS research and share your perspective. Now, Lura, you have been a very successful advocate, because you have gone to Washington, D.C., you've gone to Harrisburg, and I think that you've been successful because you've told your story. And as we heard from today from the legislators, like, they prefer hearing a story versus just facts and figures. So can you tell us the impact of sharing your story, and maybe why others should too?
At this point, my husband passed away in December 26th, because I told him he couldn't die on Christmas, so he waited for me. So this part's probably a little hard for me, because my story's always told with him beside me. Much easier to have him there to prove a point. But it comes to tearing up the person that you're telling the story to, which is very easy to do. I love you. I would tell him that too. I used it in many areas. I used it when we went to the capitals. I used it at any benefit that I would be at, and it's very heartbreaking when you can even see it in their faces. His face, whoever I'm speaking to. But one of the things that in May of last year, he went into the hospital. They intubated him. They pulled it out, but his kidneys stopped, and he was in the hospital for 48 days. And during that time, we had a person who would do a lot of performing for my husband named Jimmy Charles. He's out of Nashville. And he came. This is probably the most heartbreaking thing. And I have videos, and I share these videos. And He sang a personal private concert to my husband in the hospital. I figured a couple minutes. It was an hour and a half long concert. And Pete, who did not move much of anything, stood there or laid there in his chair that they had him in and he did this to Jimmy the whole time. It took everything for Jimmy not to cry while he was trying to sing because he never noticed how much Pete enjoyed the music and that part of his life. And that's the kind of thing you got to get across to people, to want to give and help and find that cure or anything else you have to do. I had actually wrote up a very big, long thing, and because we never stopped moving. We went vacationing. We did everything. I was not going to sit at home. I'm not that kind of person. And I told my story everywhere we went. We would go to other concerts that Jimmy would have, and they would make way. They knew, oh, Laura's coming with her husband. We got to get her up front and have the chairs moved. So, they'd hold the door. It felt kind of royal for a little bit, But one of the things that I wanted to finish off with, because hopefully I can read through this. He passed away December 26th, and somehow, even in the loss, the story didn't feel finished. It lives in the work we did together, the advocacy, the people we reached, the changes we pushed for. It lives in the memories we made, the places we went, and the music we held on to. It lives in the hospital room where for a little while everything felt light again. It lives in me too, in everything I learned, everything I became while loving him through all of it. 11 years is a long time, long enough to see how hard life can be, but also how meaningful it can still be. We didn't just go through it, we lived it together. And I am not stopping. I will be an advocate or whatever I have to be to push forward on anything for ALS. So, thank you.
I want to say something. Hang on, I gotta move away from Laura. I invaded her space. So the whole thing behind advocacy, these stories are heart-wrenching in many cases. The thing that I believe for many years now is that this disease would be cured at this point if everyone on the planet knew one person who had to live with ALS the way we do. So it's really about educating the general public, whether they be politicians or not. It's sharing your story or that of your loved one and getting people to understand how cruel ALS is. At some point, it will be solved, but you have to remember, we're a group of 30,000 people in this country. Alzheimer's, there are 6 million people with Alzheimer's. So we're often overlooked, and that's why it's so important to advocate where you can, or at least educate when given the opportunity, because more people need to see this. They need to understand this ain't for sissies.
He brought up a fact about educating people. When I started the nonprofit that I started, people had me do TikTok videos. And I am not, but I did them. I have 13,000 followers currently, and I have pulled people out of woodwork that, back in 1960, my mother died of ALS. Back in 70, my grandmother died. And I've got a lot of followers who want to hear the stories. They loved seeing me take care of Pete. I didn't show them everything. but they saw enough. But I have people, they'll come out and ask me questions. What do you do for this? How do you do that? And it has educated a lot of people. And I've found a lot of people that have ALS, which is good, that they're coming out and starting to talk about it more and more now, because there wasn't a lot of talking about it. But I continue making videos, just don't have anybody to do anything with. But I show what I'm doing here.
I have another story. Quick story. So I was recently on a call with my congressman's office. And one of the people on the call, it was a guy about in mid-30s, let's say. I always like to, before I tell my story, ask if anyone else knows about ALS or has any experience with it. And this one young man said, I don't know much about ALS, but my grandfather died from Lou Gehrig's disease. I mean, I was like stunned. I kindly said, Seth, they're the same thing. It just goes to show you the level of understanding is not there. And that's why we need to be the educators.
Yes. You can steal it from us anytime. I went to see the flickering light thing a couple weeks ago. And I stood in the middle of the library with people just that didn't have a clue of what was going on, trying to take a TikTok video, bawling my eyes out. And this one girl come up to me. She was dealing with somebody who had cancer, and she was asking, we were talking, and we were good. And this guy come around the corner. This wasn't the story I was going to tell, but you made me think of this. And he's looking at it, and he goes, what is this ALS thing? And I'm going, Lou Gehrig's disease. Oh, well, I know what that is, but I'm not a doctor. How would I know that other stuff? Never mind. The lady just looked at him and goes, you got it now, you're good. And so he left. But I was doing the TikToks. We went to Wegmans grocery store one afternoon. My nurse, me, and my husband. And I went back. I always bought him a little thing of flowers to put on his dresser in his room. He liked them, so I put flowers back there. I go back, and this lady goes, oh my God, is that him? Is that him? Is that the guy from TikTok? And I'm going, you mean Pete? Yes, oh my God, I follow you guys everywhere. And I'm going, I'm not coming back to this grocery store.
I just have a couple more questions on our agenda here. John, you have testified in New Jersey a number of times, and different states do things differently in terms of how funding works and the legislative process. So in Pennsylvania, we don't go to testimony necessarily. Someone else might, but in New Jersey we do. You have testified for funding. Stacy here has testified many times in your place. Both of you excellent at this. So that may seem very intimidating to someone else to go to a whole group of people and share your story. Can you talk a little bit about your experience testifying to a whole committee and what that experience is like?
Well, after my family experience with the government over time, it's a joke, Gary, a New York joke. Anyway, it's a little scary, a little unsettling, but really when it comes down to it, it's no big deal because they give you like 2 minutes to talk and then the red light comes on and they cut off the microphone. But you basically are testifying to the fact that patients in the state need help with funding to provide different programs and services, which are very important for families that can't afford to have ALS.
Thank you. So we had this session today because advocacy is a very important part of our mission, but it's not just important because it's a neat thing to do. It's because it achieves a lot of goals. We've passed funding in all 3 states to some extent, ALS awareness, the making ALS reportable, the research money in the state level, and also Act for ALS on a federal level, the research money at the Department of Defense. So we want to demystify what it's like. So all of you can leave here today, and unless you're actually getting government money, you can testify and be part of advocacy as well. I know a few of you have done that. So my last question to you, I'm going to start with Tara, and then move all the way down, is just telling everyone here why they should be an ALS advocate as well.
So you should be an ALS advocate because, especially if it's near and dear to your heart, you have to look at, I look at love your neighbor. You want to help others. And when you become an ALS advocate, you're helping not just yourself or the person, but you're helping in the future. So you should become an ALS advocate just because people need to be aware, and we know what it is to live the experience, and we need to educate the lawmakers and just share our stories so they're heard, and we can pass the funding or whatever we need to do. Hopefully we can get a patient-centered bill, but right now, just the first thing you can do is just learn who your people in your district are, learn who are on the health committee, really, because if, like John's bill, if you wanted to support that Senate Bill 4030, we could have all written letters to that health committee to say, this is why, and attach your story, because I think it's really important for them to hear from us and to know our story.
If you don't advocate, nothing moves forward because nobody's listening, nobody's cared, nobody's being told a story. What I had wrote up for this was advocating for ALS drives legislative action, accelerates cures, and improves lives for patients and caregivers. Advocates make a tangible difference by securing research funding and improving access to care and assistive technology, influence policy for faster Medicare and FDA approvals, easing caregiver burden, and raising public awareness. Join the movement, use your voice, and help transform hope into real progress. That is what it's really all about, making sure that we get it out there, making sure people are hearing and helping make a difference.
And if you do what Lura said, you'll find a level of satisfaction within yourself that you did something good.
Thank you very much. So that's our presentation here. I wanted you to leave here with some action so you heard some experts and realized that the best experts, no offense to the people working on AI or genetics or anything like that, but you with your stories are the best experts and can get things done. Before we finish, does anyone have any questions about advocacy or public policy right now that we can try to answer from our experience? Yes. I don't know. The question is ALS reportable in Pennsylvania? We have not tried to pass that bill in Pennsylvania. We might in the future. It was something that John proposed because he saw it somewhere else, and he's in New Jersey. We tried it in New Jersey, and now we can try that in Pennsylvania or Delaware. Does anyone else have any questions about that? Yes, Marie. So Marie said she lives in Deptford, New Jersey, and if you want to be an advocate, you can go to our website, alsmidatlantic.org, or you can email me, Tony@alsmidatlantic.org. We can let you know how to reach out to your member of the Assembly or Senate or your member of Congress or whoever and share your story. So we're happy to do that. And it's very easy. Anyone can do it.
I'll come with you. You're not that far away.
Now he's going to make you do it.
I want to hang out with you guys. Where are you? In Southampton Township, Burlington County.
Yeah, we know you're close. So. Well, thank you to all of you who have been advocates. Thank you to our advocates here today, and I hope that you'll continue to serve with us so we can pass more policies and make life better for those with ALS. Oh, wait. You have something else? Did you have another question? Oh, thank you, Marie. Well, it's a team effort. Thank you.